welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
Monday morning, Marlene.
That's right.
It's last week in February. It's
Like
February
that.
coming to a quick end. January, January usually takes 2 months.
It's one of the longest
It's
months,
one
they
of the
usually
longest
say.
months,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you have February, which comes right behind one of the shortest months, and that's a fact, in fact.
That's right.
And so we're in the last week of February. There's a lot that has happened in February, a lot to look forward to as we move into March and the rest of the year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Last week of the month. So, if you had those resolutions going, you're 2 months strong. How's that going?
That's going great. I resolved to have no resolution, and that has been going
Then
awesome.
you're on target.
I am on target.
There you go. But there's so much, you're right, that has been happening across the country. And we're going to be talking about that in just a bit. But we got to get moving into some motivation to get us started on this Monday morning. So our eye-opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. While we are in a dark night of the soul experience, hold steady, knowing the light will appear once again. Whenever a word is overused, it is most likely being misused, and over time, it begins to lose its meaningfulness. For example, we often refer to a fleeting feeling of depression or a period of confusion as a dark night of the soul. But neither of these things qualifies as such. The dark night of the soul invites us to fully recognize the confines of our ego's identity. We may feel as if we're trapped in a prison that affords us no access to light or the outside. The more we struggle, the darker things get, until finally we surrender to our not knowing what to do, how to think, where to turn. It is from this place of losing our sense of ourselves as in control that the ego begins to crack or soften, and the possibility of light entering becomes real. Some of us will have to endure this process only once in our lives, while others may have to go through it many times. The great revelation of the night is releasing our old false identity. We finally give up believing in this false self and thus become capable of owning and embracing the light.
Yeah. This speaks to me directly of perhaps a specific moment I could recall in my life. I've been through a dark bout. I've been through a bout with darkness, and I could clearly recall it. So it's no surprise the eye-opener speaks of having these experiences perhaps just once in your lifetime, and perhaps looking back in hindsight, I realized, yes, where this darkness, this dark period in my life was used to shape me, was used to create a new direction, a new path per se in my life, where I began to explore interests that I didn't even think I had, things that I perhaps wouldn't have begun to dive into if it was not for that dark place. That's not to take these dark moments lightly, because they're heavy moments, but I also believe that with time and just a bit of settling and relaxing your mind, you can change your perspective on how these dark moments can actually impact and benefit your life.
Yeah. I think for me, what stands out, and you're right, I love that it acknowledges that, we're all, if you haven't had it yet, you're going to get a dark moment in your life. And it becomes, kind of passé when you just say they're having a rough time.
Yeah.
But for me, I think that the key part that stands out is more looking at letting go the element of control. When things get really difficult, there are multiple layers of what's happening. One is whatever it is that you're dealing with. The other is this need to control and change the path that you're on. And in some situations, not in all, you can't do anything about it. You have to just come to acceptance with the challenge that you're going through and chart your own way through it.
Yeah.
And that is really difficult. So I think that when the eye opener talks about kind of letting go of the ego, the idea that you'll know exactly how to handle this, or that someone will tell you how to handle this, and kind of just accept the moment that you're in, that will inevitably shape you, it gives you that opportunity to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I think, yeah.
It's just the uncertainty,
Oh,
Marlene,
yeah.
and nobody
We
wants
all
to,
love uncertainty.
all-
That's sarcasm, by the way, just in case.
nobody wants to feel that level of uncertainty for a prolonged period. Nobody wants to think for a prolonged period, what will happen with my life?
Yeah.
What will become of the legacy that I've built or I've sought to build? What will become of the investments that I've made over the last decade, over the last half a decade? Nobody wants to sit down and really think about all those things, and a place of darkness really forces you, especially in loss, to think about all of that stuff. But it's about, like the thing say, letting go and really just figuring out what's next, you know?
That's right. Okay. So that is your motivation for this morning. Just hang in there.
Yeah.
All right, we got Catherine Cumberbatch on the line to tell us about the weather. Good morning.
Good morning, Marlene and Paul.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I am doing great listening to you guys. Just doing great. No problem, no fuss, no complaints.
All right, we love to hear that. Is the weather going to be similar?
Beautiful, beautiful weather we're having, Marlene and Paul. A nice moderate easterly airflow prevailing. For the next 24 hours, we expect mostly sunny skies, high temperatures going up to 84 along the coast, 88 inland, and over the mountains, you could expect the temperature to go as high as 75. Tonight, the skies will be partly cloudy to clear, and the temperatures will drop to 75 along the coast, 70 inland, 64 in the higher elevations. Showers will be isolated, except for the south, where you could expect a slightly more coastal showers along southern coastal areas during at night and early morning. But otherwise, from that, Marlene and Paul, it's beautiful weather we are experiencing right now.
Yeah.
As I said, the winds will blow from the east at 10 to 20 knots, and we'll be having moderate seas.
Yeah.
And for the outlook for Tuesday and Tuesday night, is for similar weather conditions to prevail.
Oh.
And when you look at our sargassum forecast, there's a medium chance that a few sargassum mats can drift on to our beaches during the next coming of days. However, the impacts of that will be minimal. And for fire risk forecast, the risk for forest and bush fires for today remain low. So good weather, beautiful weather.
Sunny and windy. Feels very Marchish.
Yes, we're going into that. We're heading more into our dry season now.
Yeah. All right. Well, we love that report. Thank you so much for the update.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you too. And you all guys have a safe day.
All right.
Same
You
to
too.
you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's definitely the kind of weather you expect going into March, April, that Easter holiday season, when you get the sun and the wind at the same time. So.
Yeah. It just makes you feel good. It's great to be outdoors when it's like this.
Right.
But
not for everybody, you know, Marlene, because sometimes you go outdoor and you say, oh, it's 85, it's 84, and then it feels like 200.
well, yeah, it has been warm during the day.
Yeah.
The wind helps, though.
It does.
So,
it does.
and it's just prepping us for the hotter time of the year that is yet to come as well. All right, and with your motivation and your weather update out of the way, it is time for us to check out what's happening in the news. So we're going to shift gears to Eye on the News.
All right, so there's several things to look forward to this week moving forward. First, let me start by saying I'm fairly confident that the Minister of Health and Wellness, Mr. Kevin Bernard, will be taking a paper before Cabinet this week with recommendations for certain amendments to the current COVID-19 regulations. One of those, which has already been made public, one of those expected amendments is to see the curfew being removed. That perhaps comes as exciting news to the population. When we asked Minister Bernard in an interview last week for a reason, one of the reasons he gave was simply because it's time. The time has come to remove the curfew, and if you kind of gauge the what the population is saying right now, there seems to be this general consensus that the time has in fact come for the curfew to be removed. I did a quick Google search just to go back in the archives a bit to find out where and when exactly did we first see the curfew in Belize. And a quick Google search led me back to August of 2020. That was when the then Governor General, he declared a state of emergency, the first COVID-19 state of emergency, I believe. And you will recall that 4 communities were placed under this state of emergency, including San Pedro and Burgess Key. And it was that weekend that we saw what you will recall as that mass movement, that panic travel out of San Pedro. So it's safe to say that the curfew has been in effect and that curfews began at 8 p.m. and it ended at 5 a.m. Today we have a curfew, so that's about 9 hours if you do the maths. Today we have curfew lasting for 4 to 5 hours. So a significant decrease, but the curfew has been in effect since August of 2020. That's a bit less than 2 years, and the Minister of Health and Wellness, of course, now coming out saying that the time has come for the curfew to be removed, and so we're expecting to see a paper in before Cabinet this Tuesday. The current regulations, current SI in place, expires at the end of this month, and the end of this month is next week, Monday. And I'm fairly confident, as I've said, just by conversations with the minister, that that paper will be presented and that hopefully by the end of this month, we will see the curfew no more, Maleni.
Well, let's see. I think, this has been a question that has been asked time and time again to the previous Minister of Health, to the current Minister of Health, to other ministers who are involved, including the Minister of Home Affairs. The Commissioner also weighed in. He said he's fine with either one continuing or removing. I think the question is, are we at the place where loosening the regulations is the best move for us? And so I think the important step is looking back at the latest numbers. Yeah. And currently, we're a bit over 2,000 active cases reported. We have seen a very big decline in the number of daily cases being reported. They're between 100 to 150 on a regular day. Not where we need it to be as yet, especially when you look at the positivity rate. But definitely making moves towards that. Yeah. So I imagine that maybe it is going to be welcome news. You can tell us what you think by sharing with us in the comments whether or not you think it's time to remove the curfew. But it is something that has been asked a lot.
If you thinking about the data, the Ministry of Health released some data to us over the weekend. And if you look at comparing all 3 waves, starting with that wave in late August, in late 2020, and if you do the comparison, you'll notice that in the September to September 2020 to January 2021. That's when this initial wave, where it didn't have a name. There wasn't a name for a variant or anything like that. We saw 11,000 cases, Marlene, 11,000 positive cases, and a total of 290 deaths. That's the that first, so what some would consider the first wave. Yeah. Compare that to the Omicron wave. We're talking after Delta, then came the Omicron wave, just to kind of give a sense of where we're at. In the Omicron wave, which lasted, we're talking for the first, what some consider the first wave, we're talking about September, October, November, December, January, 5 months. In this recent wave, which is January, which, well, we're technically still in the wave, but data is showing that from January 1st to mid-February, we've recorded, within the last 6 weeks, we've recorded a total of 23,000 cases. That's more than double what we saw in the first wave. However, in terms of deaths, we're seeing a total of 39 deaths, I believe. 39 deaths over the last, or 69, somewhere thereabout, over the last 6 weeks compared to what we saw in the first month. So I say that simply to say that there seems to be a downward trend when it comes to the COVID-19 virus. Based on the data, it seems to be losing its strength per se. However, it's unpredictable, and it has to be made clear that the Minister of Health has stated that all options remain on the table as it relates to COVID-19. So it's not to say that the curfew would not be implemented once again if the need arises for that.
So that's the data that you're talking about, the reduction in the fatality rate with the recent Omicron wave. And that was one of the things that was identified very early on, that the way the Omicron variant was affecting the body was very different from what they'd seen in the previous variants, especially Alpha and Delta, which did in fact lead to more fatalities as reported. But I do want to say this much though, because there's always this measured message that has to go out. Because on Friday, there was also, while we're saying that there are only about 2,000 plus cases active in the country, on Friday, there was a report of 8 deaths to COVID-19. So, you know, saying that it's mild for most is in fact true, but you must still take into account the vulnerable populations out there who can be at risk of severe COVID-19, and especially if they are with an underlying condition, and more so if they are unvaccinated. So, you know, the studies across, they're still learning about Omicron, you know, there are variants, subvariants to Omicron at this point as well. But what is clear so far from the data globally is that the more protection you have, which is if you've had 2 vaccinations, 3 vaccinations, the less likely you are to have severe COVID-19. So these are all things that you want to take into consideration as we continue moving forward.
Yeah, and by no means saying we should let our guards down.
Yeah, I think Minister Bernard said that. He's like, you know, keep on, the mask mandate is not going.
Bars will remain closed, nightclubs will remain closed. It's just questioning now at this point the effectiveness of the curfew that is in place in the manner that in which it is in place at this time. So that's definitely some news that we will be looking at this week. Another topic of interest, Marlene, is coming out of the north, and this has to do with reports that ASR, well, let me not say that. Let me say that Belcogen, which is a sister company of ASR BSI, has brought a claim against the BSCFA, which is the Belize Sugarcane Farmers Association, for that protest, that blockade that took place at the start of the sugar crop in late 2021. So Belcogen has brought a claim on Friday against BSCFA and 4 of its members. The claim they're basically seeking relief from the court for $500,000 in damages. Belcogen alleges that BSCFA instructed and encouraged the other 4 defendants to commit trespass over BSI's land and to unlawfully block the access. And they're saying that as a result, the other associations were unable to deliver their cane, which kind of halted production of sugar and more so production of the byproduct, bagasse, which then creates the energy used on the compound and creates the energy sold to the grid, to BEL. And so they're seeking $500,000 in damages. This is very similar, if you look farther into it, this is very similar to the case that the Port of Belize Limited recently brought against the Christian Workers Union. In this case, however, the PBL, Port of Belize Limited, is seeking relief in the sum of $1 million. And of course, they allege that CWU engaged in an illegal strike, and as a result, they were unable to offload and load cargo, which they're saying resulted in massive losses. So on one hand, you have Belcogen there at ASRBSA, and on the other hand, you have PBL, both bringing claims against these bodies, against these entities. It begs the question, following strikes, it begs the question for me whether there is now this sort of collective or united front being formed in this manner, because I ask that because this comes at the heels of a release from the Belize Agro-Process Productive Sector Group, which they're basically calling on the government to strengthen their enforcement in terms of the law where these strikes are concerned. So that's definitely something to look at there.
Yeah, no, I think this is a huge development in what we have seen so far. And it is very reminiscent to what we have seen with the case of the Port of Belize versus the Christian Workers Union. The core of the matter really is that they feel that they have lost income due to these strikes that were held. There was a blockade at the BSI. And at the Port of Belize, the stevedores, in fact, had stopped working. So when there's no work taking place, there's a loss of income that is happening. And so they're taking it back to the very same workers who initiated these actions. Now, this is going to, and as these cases proceed, I think this is going to be a very emotional issue for many. And I think there are going to be 2 courts here. There's going to be the official court system and how it sees it. And there's going to be the court of public opinion.
As always.
And so we'll keep on monitoring and see how it goes. I'm sure we'll be hearing from the BSCFA as we have been hearing from the CWU in response to these litigation matters.
Now, let's turn to sports for what from over the weekend. So we know that the Belize senior national women's team, that they are out of the country. I believe they'll return sometime this week, if not today, competing in the Women's World Cup qualifiers. Unfortunately, earlier this week, they lost to a regional team. They lost 5-0. So they were scheduled to play their home game in El Salvador. And that's a whole nother issue as to why they ended up playing their home game in El Salvador against Panama. And the Minister of Sports, Mr. Responsible for Sports, Minister Rodwell Ferguson, made the decision to take the trip up to El Salvador to spectate the women's team. Unfortunately, they lost 8-0, which is
That's
a
a
blowout.
painful loss,
That's
yeah.
a painful loss, more than the 5-0 that they took earlier in the week. And after watching the game, Minister Ferguson had some comments to make on Facebook, and he basically said that, let me quote him word for word, they were led like sheep to the slaughter. And this is him, when you look at the rest of the post, this is him coming to realization that more needs to be done. It is this post is not him criticizing the team, but more criticizing the efforts that has been placed behind developing sports, developing our athletes in Belize. He compared the stadiums that he saw in El Salvador, the rooms that are housed in these stadiums to host teams, so that they don't have to carry the expenses of hotels, etc. And he called on the public and private sector to do more, to take a greater interest in sports and our national teams.
Well, he only recently has taken on this portfolio, so it's interesting. I think it's great to see that he attended one of the games, and the silver lining of being at a game where we suffered such a devastating defeat is that it does bring to light the weaknesses within sports in Belize. Now, we can go on and on about where we have fallen short.
With
but
sports.
I'll say this much. I think that definitely Minister Ferguson can be able to tackle one of the issues that has been ongoing for a while. Remember, there are federations that run different sports in this country. And, you know, when you hear from athletes who have been able to excel on their own, they always say the same thing, that there's not enough emphasis placed on training and forming athletes. There's more this hurry put together effort to represent internationally. So there is this coordination that needs to be done. And these federations get their own funding as well, and also solicit private funds. So it is a matter of looking at what the federations are doing and what type of sports development we have on a national level as well.
Yeah, I know athletes. I know of athletes personally that takes issue. Well, they're of the view that the issue begins with the federations, and that there's also solution where the federations are concerned, and this is sports across the board. This is not only soccer, this is not only football, but it takes great investment, as I'm beginning to understand, a lot of money.
It takes great investment, and I'll say this much because we always have a level of accountability. We're included in that because if we don't support, let's say, our U12 team when they go on a journey, or the corporate sponsors don't want to buy in at that point, or even if you don't tune into the games to see, then you're not helping to build those athletes either. When you only want to see the adults who have some natural talent that they've honed for a bit, get out there and play basketball, for example. And I'm just giving examples. No. You know, that's where you start to see that we also don't want to give the effort and time to developing the younger ones as well in their formation in sports.
And I mean, it's probably far-fetched, but where are we at these events? When these events come up, we know that there are countries across the world that rally behind their teams and make an effort to get there. So where are we? But that's something else that came out of this weekend. Now, Marlene, we're going to take a brief moment to move internationally, because there's a couple of things happening internationally. First, we want to go international but stay local with our Marie Sharp pepper sauce. Just to say that they competed in the pepper sauce challenge at the Dubai 2020 Expo, and they won the competition in the category of best flavor.
Oh.
So the best flavor, and we're talking against the other CARICOM member states, which is Trinidad and Tobago, St. Kitts, St. Vincent's and the Grenadines, and they came out on top. So that's big news for the already award-winning pepper sauce of Belize. I mean, Marie Sharp with a little bit with some tacos, Marie Sharp with some kikdong or lychee, Marie Sharp with your nice rice and beans Sunday dinner. We have it here in Belize, good. And now the world is getting to experience the treasure that is Marie Sharp, the treasure that Belizeans so much enjoy.
Yeah, no surprise to us at all.
Yeah.
We all enjoy our Marie Sharp. And we're all so proud when we see it somewhere. Like when you travel and you're able to see Marie Sharp on a table, it's a great feeling.
Yeah, so that's in Dubai.
Yeah.
And we move from Dubai north, south, east, west, I'm not sure. But we move from Dubai to the royal family, where information reports are out that Queen Elizabeth II tested positive for COVID-19 at the age of 95.
Yeah. It was officially reported on Sunday in the British press that Queen Elizabeth has tested positive. This is following the positive confirmations for the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall. I think what they have reported so far is that her symptoms are mild. She has a mild cold-like symptoms. They are saying she's going to be resting, but she will also be doing some little work in between. She had actually been not attending public events for a while, and they've tried their best to protect her during this time. She celebrated her Platinum Jubilee on early February 6th. So that is, of course, a big celebration for her. So we do wish her well. As we've said, hopefully it's the Omicron variant. Hopefully she is going to be able to fight it and get through this with best of health.
It just goes to show that the Omicron variant specifically knows no name, knows no face. I mean, people around me caught the virus that had never caught it before in previous waves. And so I do wish the best for her as she goes through this period.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right.
And so with that is it this morning for our eyes on the news. You can catch these stories and more in our 6 p.m. newscast right here on Channel 5, as well as on our Facebook and YouTube page.
All right, and with that, we're going to get moving into our show for today.
Yeah, we have a lot lined up, beginning with our first conversation. We will be having the Mayor of Belize City in studio with us to discuss garbage collection tax and projects that the Belize City Council have been undertaking. So Mayor will be here.
Yeah, quite a bit. You know, I have questions about these parking meters to see what's going to happen. But there's a lot more, so we're looking forward to that conversation. That's going to be an extended one, but we're going to close off with a conversation with the Public Sector Workers Trust. And they are launching a health project for their beneficiaries. So we're going to find out all about it from representatives of the Public Sector Workers Trust. So that's going to be your final conversation for today. We are going to go ahead and take a break, but before we do, we got a birthday shout out.
We want to say happy birthday to Kersha Pelayo. Looking so wonderful there. Kersha, we do want to wish you a happy birthday from all of us here at Channel 5.
All right, and I do want to send a personal birthday shout out to my sister, Fidelia Cuellar. Happy birthday, sis. Love you so much and enjoy your day.
Sneak that one in.
Yeah. We're going to take that break now. When we come back, we'll be joined by Mayor of Belize City, Bernard Wagner. So please, stay tuned.
In these trying times, Smart is here to lessen the burden. Smart's reduced roaming rates save you while traveling. Calls back home are a low 35 cents per minute when visiting Canada, the US, and Mexico, or pay as low as 50 cents for calls when visiting countries in the Caribbean, Central, and South America. For the month of February and March, enjoy an unbelievable low rate of 30 cents per megabyte when roaming with mobile data in Canada, the US, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. Whether you are a business traveler, studying abroad, visiting loved ones, or just traveling for pleasure, Smart's new roaming rates have got you covered. Roaming in China, Europe, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean is as low as the cost of making a local call. It's that low. Smart's roaming coverage continues to grow, so you can also enjoy affordable roaming rates in several destinations across the globe. For more information on rates to other countries, visit our website or call 1090 for more details before you travel. Smart, bringing people together.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her co-workers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link. She taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made. Then taps the split the bill button where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the request and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
Introducing next-gen supersonic speed for the ultimate home Wi-Fi experience. New customers can now enjoy faster residential internet speeds of 25, 50, 100, and 150 megabytes per second, as low as $49 a month. Existing next-gen customers will receive an automatic speed upgrade at no extra cost to reflect our new supersonic speed. Count on us to keep you connected with the speed you need at unbeatable prices. Select the internet plan that works for you. Make the switch and sign up today. NextGen, bringing you the ultimate digital experience.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
All right, welcome back, and as we said before the break, we have in studio with us Mayor of Belize City, Mayor Bernard Wagner. Good morning, Mayor. It's nice of you to join us this morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning again, Marlene, the entire Mr. Lopez, the entire team here at Channel 5, actually.
Yeah.
But certainly a pleasure to be here with you all.
It's
been a long time.
I was just going to say, it's been a very, very long time, and there's a lot to talk about. And so we have you for 2 segments.
Yeah,
I hope you've had your morning coffee.
Yeah, we're all up and ready to go.
All right. So let's begin, Mayor. Perhaps we could start with what the obvious, COVID-19 and the City Council, and how the last 2 years have been for the Council in COVID-19.
It has been tough and challenging as most organizations. Actually, our Council faced the first casualty in respect to COVID with Mr. Pipersburg.
Indeed.
I want to take the opportunity to continue to wish my city administrator a speedy recovery. As you may know, she has been, she contracted the Omicron virus and has been out for basically 4 to 5 weeks. But she's recovering, and we continue to pray for her as she makes her way back But there are good signs, and so certainly we at the City Council continue to pray for her.
What do you think have been key in terms of you guys preventing a massive spread at the council while councillors or your CA and different personnel continue to contract the virus?
Yeah, well, we started very early, pretty early in ensuring that we put in place the required protocol to, we know that there's a lot of traffic that goes in and out of the City Council on a daily basis, the traffic department, the municipal court, the Belize City Council main offices. So we ensure that we had the sanitizing apparatus operational. We ensure that people use their masks, washing of hands, very important. And so while we put those measures in place, we still were impacted and has been impacted significantly in terms of our staff. One spell, I believe about 2 weeks ago, it was only me on the front. All my managers were out, including my city administrator. Myself contracted the Delta late last year. And so we are mindful that this is an ongoing situation here in Belize and globally. And so we just continue to do the best that we can.
Yeah. Now, we are approaching, I think, looking at the COVID-19 health aspect is one part of the conversation, but the other part is looking at the economic challenges that is posed. We're 1 year since you were able to, almost 1 year since you were able to secure your second term in office as Belize City Mayor. Let's talk about how you have been able, or what you are doing to be able to still make your mark in this second term, given all the COVID considerations.
Yeah, Marlene, it's been a huge challenge. I must say, when you put into context the fact that the city relies heavily on the employment of residents and viably employed and earning income to pay their due taxes in terms of property taxes. We rely heavily on the business, the local economic development in the area of how our economy flows. And when those are disrupted, then it creates a chain reaction. And so the city then begins to not being able to collect the revenue that is due to the city. COVID, we saw the effects of COVID on many of the businesses. What the businesses had to do was essentially release many of their workers. And when they did that, now those workers are unable to pay their property taxes. And so from my vantage point, I have to recognize that and understand that it is not a situation where any resident would want to be in, but it's unfortunate that it happens that way. So you have to start to demonstrate a bit of empathy. And that has really led us to where we are today, where the city is owed over $21 million in property taxes. That is significant, that is huge. And so that is reflective now in how we are able to deliver the goods and services to the city. We have done patchwork here and there to ensure that we maintain our workers, our employees. We have not, through this entire 2 years ordeal, have never really terminated any of our staff. That's very important. That is big for me, and that is big for our council, that we withstood the shocks that came with COVID, but we recognize that we had a duty to ensure that we do not contribute to unemployment, especially as it relates to our workers.
Yeah. So when you talk about the losses from COVID, there were several. You're talking about businesses not being able to perform as well, unemployment in the city. But you also look at things like in 2020 with the loss ahead tax for tourists that came in. What is your calculated loss so far due to COVID?
In the millions, Marlene, in the millions. The fact is that the bonds that were floated from the previous council, as you could remember, I recall that was 20 million. And so, and they put in place a backstop, which really spoke to the fact that your head tax, which was 300,000 roughly on a monthly basis, along with your subvention, another 100 plus, totaling about 400,000 per month, is set aside in an account at the central bank, a sinking fund, so to speak, and that serves as a backstop for when those bonds become mature. So when we came into office, we were able to pay into those bonds from that mechanism that was put in place. So we had paid down 9 million. But at the same time, you have to also recognize that with the floating of that bond, what that did was sucked out 400,000 out of a new administration monthly. So we don't have that. We have to be able to meet our operational expenditure out of property taxes, out of trade licensing, out of traffic revenue, and so forth. So that has been sucked out from us, and now it has been compromised, given the fact that tourism went under in 2020 and most of 2021. And so those monies that were supposed to be setting aside to meet the upcoming maturity of the bonds, the other remaining 11 million has been compromised. 6 million of that is due this year in November, and the remaining 5 million in 2023. So we at the council have to be able to we know that the sinking fund will not be able to compensate that 6 million. So we'll have to look at renegotiating those bonds with those bondholders in terms of giving us some sort of haircut here and there to ensure reissue it for down the road again. So that is where we are.
So that's in the works right now?
That's in the works. Our finance team is working on that with those bondholders, but we're confident that we'll be able to get that through. But that in a nutshell is where we sit. As a council, we had to ensure that many businesses suffered loss as well. And just in 2020, many of the businesses had paid in trade license, and they were left
with no business,
with just a certificate in their hands and no business. And so we had to take that into context and give some relief there. We also gave some relief to those vendors that use the market. We gave them a three-month moratorium. They didn't have to pay any rent. We actually waived the rent for them. And so that has been our contribution in terms of what we can do as a city while still having the responsibility that people still, they call away every day and say, my street broke up, water, my drain not clean, this and that. But I always try to tell our residents that it has to be a whole in hand type of getting through this situation. We have to hold hand, we have to have empathy, and we have to recognize that it has been a situation where every action creates another reaction, and so we have to have empathy and understand that the streets may not be fixed the way it used to be, the cement street, but at least we'll try to put in the hardcore material, grade it occasionally, we'll try to dig the drains, we'll try to chop the cemetery, keep the parks and playground clean and maintain. But we have to be able to understand that these are challenging times for everyone. But we still remain optimistic that 2022 will be a better year for the city.
No,
So since you're talking about empathy, let's dive into one of the hot issues, and there are several. Let's talk about the concern that residents have regarding the possible implementation of a garbage fee.
Yeah, again,
This has been discussed many times, not by other mayors as well.
right. And it's a situation where all previous mayors had to grapple at some point in time with the cost of garbage. Garbage is a huge cost to the municipality. It accounts for in the neighborhood of 3 million annually, and it's just monies that goes up in garbage with the moving of the garbage. So when we recognize that 400,000 of funds that were due to us from the subvention and the head tax was sucked out, in the bond offering, and this is interesting, Marlene, that in the bond prospectus for the previous council, they had put in a covenant in that bond prospectus which says that given that they are taking out these funds away from the council, they would have to identify new revenue streams. And one of those revenue streams were garbage fee. And I believe Mayor Bradley had initiated that proposal, but it never got off the ground.
Well, it always gets shut down because nobody wants to pay an additional fee at the end of the month or annually. But I do have a question, because is Belize City the only municipality that doesn't pay a garbage fee?
We are the only municipality. All the other towns, all the rural areas are able to collect that garbage fee. I am still confused as to why that is in the legislation that Belize City is not permitted to collect garbage fee. But again, with the pandemic and people not being able to meet some of those obligations right now, what we are looking at, and I spoke with the Chief Executive Officer out of the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, and we are looking at other alternatives, other options in respect to garbage. We are looking at waste to energy type initiative, biomass, turning those wastes into energy. As you may know, that there has been substantial investment in waste management across the entire country. Many of those waste stations have been built, but they are not functioning. And so in my discussion with the CEO, we looked at other alternatives of really changing the narrative of really turning those garbage into energy, and where you'll be able to then
Cover the cost.
cover the costs.
So are you moving away from the initial proposal of
For the time being, yes, we are trying to move away from that area. Obviously, we don't want to put any other burden on the residents of the city, but we still have to look at alternative, and the biomass is an option we are looking at.
So if you're able to make money from the waste generated in the city, then that will be how you'll cover the cost for garbage collection.
Precisely. And Marlene, it's just an offsetting mechanism, because we are not looking to make any profit. Even with the garbage fee structure, it was not to make any profit, so to speak, but to just offset, even if not all, a portion of the cost of garbage.
What's the council's monthly garbage bill?
It's 240,000 monthly, 60,000 per week. But if you look at the 60,000 per week, the entity that does the collection of the garbage, Belize Waste Control, really make about 40,000 stops during the course of the week in the collecting of garbage. And so if you would quantify that at 60,000 per week and you're making 40,000 stops, it's essentially like $1.50 per stop.
So what would have been the proposed
My fee would have been like 44 cents a day. So you still see where I am operating at a deficit. It's like one third, and then I will still have to be meeting 2/3 of those garbage costs.
Now, the counter argument people have had is that this is why they pay property tax, that costs like these should be included.
No, but the Property Tax Act speaks about infrastructure. Those monies derived from property taxes are essentially to improve infrastructure. That is in the act. It speaks nothing about garbage. So we continue to work towards ensuring that we find new revenue streams. That is one of my main objectives, is to identify new revenue streams.
And what are those new revenue streams that you have identified?
Well, the first one we are looking at, as you may know, we recently launched, along with the EU and our implementing partner UNDP, the e-transit, electric bus transit system. That's an initiative that has been long in the making, and it is towards low carbon and e-piloting type transport, really transforming the entire transport sector in the country and in Belize City. Belize City has been chosen as one of the cities that will identify a route.
Okay.
And so we'll be receiving three buses, electric buses, to run a route, but it's a pilot project that will run for 1 year. And during that time, we'll be able to gather the required data. We want to see how these electric buses take to the terrain of Belize City, to the climate and all that, and how the charging station mechanism work. The timing of the route, we'll use the 3 buses on 1 route to really get the timing down, because we want to put a system that is reliable, a system that is efficient, so that when it becomes reliable, now the residents of the city, those professional people, those workers can now rely heavily on it and say, instead of me driving to work, I know that bus will be there in the next 10 minutes, because it will be completely Wi-Fi. It will have all the information, the next bus coming in the next 10 minutes. That is the type of vision we have for these electric bus systems. And so when that occurs, now you have the lowering of CO2 in the air. Then we begin to contribute as a city to the reduction of carbon emission in our city. And then those partners outside that are funding the project really begin to see that Belize City is a viable partner and want to do its part in the lowering of CO2 and to impact climate change.
Now, I think moving towards energy efficient buses as well as generally efficient transportation is something that will be welcomed by city residents. My question, though, is what about the existing transportation providers, your dollar taxis, your small buses that are running? How do they feel about the city council entering into
we have had preliminary discussion, and we are not driving anyone out of making their ends. It will be fair competition, and it will be a situation where the consumer benefit. The consumer will have the choice to choose. That say, I want to ride on this cashless system. It's AC. It is friendly to our disabled and handicapped people. It will be friendly to our elderly in our society. They will not have to pay anything. It will be friendly to our nurses and doctors who work shifts late in the night, because our buses will run up until midnight. It's electric buses, obviously, and so we do not have that fuel costs. We are working along with BEL. BEL have installed its first 2 charging stations at Biltmore Plaza. They are also working along with us to install two charging stations in downtown Belize City. We have already identified the area that we will be hosting our buses, which will be at the Marion Jones Sporting Complex area, by the Mexican Center area. And so we have an entire roadmap.
So you're saying that the existing city transportation providers have no qualms with this new
I'm not
introduction?
saying they don't have any issue, but it will be fair competition. And at the end of the day, the residents or the consumer chooses which transport is reliable, which transport is efficient, and which transport is clean air. That is the important thing here.
So just one more question on that, looking at the existing transportation system, which most interviews we would dive into and talk about it, because it is in fact the responsibility of the municipality to ensure that these transport providers, one, are law-abiding, and I mean traffic regulations, and two, are providing adequate services to the public. So you're coming in now with a pilot project that will be a very different reality, but you still have the responsibility to ensure that the other providers are being efficient, are ensuring that they follow the routes that they're supposed to, and adhering to traffic regulations.
Yeah, again, the National Transport is our regulator, and they have been, they have their entire strategy as well in respect to really transforming the entire landscape of transportation in the city. I am proud of the Ministry of Transport and our team there, that they really have the vision, right, and they wear it all to get this done. And when change is occurring, there will be resistance. As you know, there will always be resistance. But the fact of the matter is that those existing vendors or providers will also have the opportunity to participate in the program. The Ministry of Transport is looking at how they grant these permits. I was told that 600 permits exist
in the city.
For the entire country.
Yeah, but Belize City specifically?
Yeah, no,
the inner city buses?
In city buses, not 600 Belize City permits, but a substantial amount of permits in the city. And so, is it really effective? Is it efficient to have so many permits? And so, the existing bus owners in the city will be given the opportunity, right, to participate in transforming this sector. It will be given the opportunity to acquire the same type of machinery, equipment to really transform the transport sector in the city. We are about transformation, and I am glad that the Ministry of Transport has the vision, has articulated the vision, and we want to implement that vision.
Where would those fundings come from to allow others within the market to acquire these buses?
Obviously, those individuals will have to seek partnership and investors. There are agencies that really support this type of investment in green transport. And once they see that you have the required permit, which assures you that you have a run, then they are more agreeable to give you funding for those type of projects. But we will not stop anyone who wants to enter the market. Again, it's the transport department that regulates who get the permit, not the city. And so we are very optimistic about this one area that is a new revenue stream for the city. The other area is the parking meters project. Again,
you had a consultation, I believe, last week?
Yes, we did.
What's the feedback that you're getting from your downtown residents?
The downtown residents is very, very, very optimistic about it, especially the business owners. Because what this does, Marlene, is that we have found out that many a times, say for instance, Brody's, people park in front of Brody's all day. The people that works in the downtown area, they would go downtown early in the morning, 7, 8, and get their parking spot and park on the city prime real estate the entire day. No other resident has the opportunity to use that space. Do you think that is fair, man? Right?
There is inadequate parking downtown, period. There's always been talks of putting in a parking lot and trying to alleviate the problem. For the number of persons who want to use or access the businesses and the number of workers and business owners, there just isn't enough parking. So this is part of the plan that you have in being able to make revenue, but it still doesn't address the parking problem in downtown.
Well, the city, Marlene, is responsible for on-street parking. Off-street parking is not our business. We are concerned about on-street parking and the regulation of on-street parking. Off-street parking has to be driven by the private entity. We are concerned that we have many vendors who are all vendors in the BTL park who conduct business, but people who want to access their business in the park is unable to do so because very early in the morning there are people who work at different establishments in that area that parks the entire day. And so when someone drives up to the park to access service from those vendors, those food vendors in the park, they are unable to do so. They get a ticket. That's not equitable. That's not fair for our residents of the city. We at the City Council control on-street parking. We want to regulate on-street parking so that all the residents have equal opportunity to access that space.
So what's the cost of parking per hour?
$3 per hour, and it comes in the segments of half an hour, of 15 minutes, whatever. It just reduces.
These are cashless devices?
Totally cashless. It's digitally controlled, solar panel driven as well.
So you'll use what, a debit card, a
it will
credit
be like
card,
a preload,
a prepaid card?
Prepaid card. It will be preloaded. You could access buying those cards at some dealers. We'll have at City Council as well. We'll have in the park and in the immediate area. But we have had consultation with the business houses in that area, in those two areas, as well as we have had consultation with the area reps of those two areas. Given that it's a pilot project, we are only given 1 year to get the required data before we are able to implement in other zones. So this 1 year period is to give us the opportunity to really get the data.
So is there a difference if I work downtown or if I own a business in one of the areas where parking meters will be installed?
Well, no one will be allowed to park along that stretch. You'll have to either access the Romax parking lot or the niche parking lot that is controlled by the City Council. We do have plans to renovate that niche parking lot. We want to enclose it. We have the technology that uses the mechanism of the arm. You access, you pay, you go in and you access alongside the Brody Street right there. And we want to fence it. We want to put cameras. We want to put lights in that area. At the same time, ensuring that our magistrates who uses, we give them some spaces that they are not infringe on that. We do not want to infringe on them. But the fact of the matter is that's another new revenue stream. But again, it's only a pilot. It's a gathering of information, gathering of data before we are able to really expand it out all across the city.
So that's $3 an hour for somebody who wants to park for 8 hours an entire work day. That's about roughly $24.
They have all the
Option.
yeah,
Oh, there's
option.
an-
It's like,
okay.
I think it's $20.
How many parking meters do you plan, does the council plan to implement in the pilot phase?
In the BTL Park areas, there'll be four such machines. Along the Albert Street, I believe there'll be in the neighborhood 10 such machines. We have already marked out those areas on Albert Street. It will give us 37 parking spots.
The one we're looking at, that's BTL Park. One is already implemented in BTL Park. Is that up and running already?
Not as yet. We launch on the 7th of March.
If you would just so a better understanding to our viewers, just simply how the process works in terms of having this card and you get a ticket. When the traffic officers come, what is it that they look for to see if you are abiding?
Okay, there's a 4-step process, right? You park your vehicle,
Yeah.
right? And you walk out your vehicle and you go to the nearest machine, right? You get your card. It will ask you for your license plate. So you punch in your license plate in the machine. Very user friendly. It's just like an
Right.
ATM, and then it will ask you to use your card, and you just put the card in front of the screen, and it charges your card. It deducts from your prepaid card. It also prints a receipt which shows you the time and how long you have paid for. You now take this slip and put it on your windshield inside, preferably in your inside, so that nobody else move it. And you put it inside. So when our enforcement team, and we'll be having significant enforcement on this, they will be continuously back and forth. And they will look at it, and if you have overstayed your time due to the pilot project, the ideal area in terms of enforcement, we would want to really lock your wheel. But the legislation does not give us the permission as yet. The Ministry of Transport is working on amending those legislation after the pilot project for the locking of wheels. So what will happen there?
They'll get a ticket.
Yeah, you'll just
Yeah.
get the ticket in the interim.
In some countries, they tow away a vehicle.
Yeah,
and then you have to
that
pay
will
a fee.
that will also be in the legislation, but it's just a pilot, so we're just gathering data for further use.
And what did it cost the council for one of these?
This is public-private partnership. This is a
Okay.
public-private partnership. We are using two entities, Beta Parking Solution, and the other Parking Solutions is the other entity. We wanted to do two entities and have more equity. We are able to not have a monopoly, so to speak. I believe some of the other cities and towns are looking at parking meters as well. They may be going with one entity, but we in the city believe that we wanted to have two entities participate in the pilot project. And from there, we'll be able to see which one of these entities really produce the results that we want to see.
Yeah. So those are two new mechanisms for revenue that you're looking at. The parking meters, the potential of conversion of waste into biomass,
Yes.
bioenergy, I'm sorry, as potential revenue for the
electric
council.
buses.
And the electric buses. Thank you. But let's talk about your main bread and butter, and that's your property tax.
Yeah.
And this has been a major issue of contention. Now, there was supposed to be an adjustment. Was it last year?
No, it was supposed to be in 2018,
2018.
but we never did.
So it's been continuously pushed back, but now you're talking about outstanding property tax. There was a 1% adjustment, and people are still saying that in this time, with the COVID realities which you outlined in the beginning, how dare you?
That's a good one, Marlene, but the truth of the matter is that by law, the city should conduct what they call a quinquennial every 5 years, where adjustments are made in terms of your property tax roll. That hasn't been done. I believe the last time it was done was in 2015, right? Or 2013, sorry. And in 2018, when we came into office, we were supposed to do it, but we put it aside, we set it aside. 2019, 2020, we just couldn't do it. 2021, similarly. But 2022, given the fact that we find ourselves in serious financial challenges, we had to do it. 1% on the assessment of your property.
Let me ask this question. Of the outstanding property tax payments, what's your assessment of the persons who have not paid? Is it a matter of them not being able to? Have you looked at the economic situation of these persons who've been delinquent?
Yeah, we have really classified the individuals in buckets. We have even been able to really quantify the tax roll or what is owed to us in terms of street. We are able to tell you, and so you'll be surprised that many of the complaints that you receive for my street is broke up and fixed. If you look at the compliance rate of some of those streets, you'd be shocked. Some of them are 11% compliance rate, while you have some other streets who are operating at 90%, 80%, but you have the majority having really low compliance rate. So we have been able to put in place a system that can identify the compliance rate per street. We are able to look at per division, per constituents. And it's interesting.
And where's the most outstanding debt?
It's interesting data. Very, very interesting when you look at it and analyze the data. It's interesting. That is all I can say about it. Right? But
I mean, okay,
we don't want to.
Question. Is it the people that can pay or the people who really would struggle
a lot of
to
people
pay?
Can't pay.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot.
So they have difficult circumstances.
Yes, and we had spoken to our local government and the Ministry of Finance on how we know that they did a land amnesty some time back. We were wondering if they would be able to entertain such an activity for the city, given that there are many marginalized people that just can't pay. They know where they don't want to pay. They just can't pay. And so we are looking at that area. We are also looking through the Ministry of Finance again at the monetization of those receivables, which I tell you before is around 21 million. The Ministry of Finance, along with our team, is working on how we can monetize those receivables, and that essentially means that we clean up the data, because many of the data that we have at City Council is not up to date. Many of the properties have changed hands, and so when someone change ownership in Belmopan, it is not registered here. So it's about connecting and having the same data before you can do the monetization. Because what happens there is that you then sell off the receivables at a discount. And so, say for instance, we decide to sell on 75 cents on the dollar. So the city would receive 75% upfront of that 21 million, which would go a long way in really transforming the city in terms of infrastructure development, drains, streets. It would really be transformative, and it will not be a bad situation where you find yourself that you are infringing on one of those individuals that can't pay. We will want to hold on to those
Well,
to
I was
those.
going to ask, because if you do sell off your receivables, I mean, you may have somebody banging on the door of
Yes.
these people who are trying
Yes.
to pay electricity before they can pay
Precisely.
property tax.
And that is why the exercise is so detailed, that you want to get the economic profile of those individuals that are really living on the margins, that really can't pay. And we have to have that social conscience as well.
But
And
Mayor, let me ask you something, because this is like catch-22. You say, and I think many assumed that there is a substantial number of persons who owe property tax that are living in difficult economic situations, and the streets themselves are bad. So the responsibility for the infrastructure in the municipality would be on you.
on me, yeah.
So I don't pay my property tax, but you don't fix my street either, even when I was paying.
Yeah, good point, good point. But the big elephant in the room is that I'm not getting my money.
Right.
I'm not getting what is owed to me. Take, for instance, the transformative years under the previous mayor was when he floated those
The bond.
$20 million bond. And he was able to do substantive streets. Now you don't have to look far and you say, there's $21 million out there for the city. If the city could get that, imagine the kind of transformation, the kind of the streets that will be able to build, will be able to be constructed without having to borrow.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you've been forced in a position where the compliance data has to inform your investment or where you invest in terms of where you develop.
The streets?
Yeah, in terms of the streets.
No, because you always have to get that social conscience. If I would look at one of those real back streets, and I would just go by my data and say that the residents on this street, your compliance rate is only 2%, so I will not fix your street. That is rough for as a leader and as a mayor to do. You have to get that social conscience as well. So you try to share it. Some of the people who pay their taxes each and every year, and the street, they broke up and tell me, but may I pay huge taxes? Why can't you fix the street? But I have to be able to balance it. The revenue from those that pay, and try to balance it across the city. It's a juggling act.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, you have withstood 2 campaigns so far that people care very little of the money complaints that you may have and the
Yes.
financial struggles of the city.
Yeah.
They want improvements within the city.
Precisely.
So let's talk about, what do you say to residents of Belize City who may have voted for you when they're not seeing work being done on their streets or in their drainage or in the other way in the city?
Again, I say to those people, we remain optimistic that 2022, we will, based on our plans, based on our vision, based on all of those things that I spoke to you earlier, that we'll begin to deal with our mandate. And our mandate is to fix streets, drains, canals, provide the goods and services for the residents. In 2022, we will transform the city in terms of funding that we expect out of those monetization, out of funding from our usual tax base, our property taxes. We just completed our budget for 2022 along with the local government, and we are anticipating revenues of 27 million, and we are anticipating expenditure in the neighborhood of 24 million. So we are looking at a surplus, an operating surplus of 3 million. But the catch here is that we have that 6 million bond payment that is due. So while we are saying we have this operating surplus at 2022, for 2022, we still have that 6 million, and that will require renegotiation of those bonds that are maturing.
How many streets have you worked on in the past year?
In the past year, 2021, we have done essentially streets of rehabilitation. It's not, I wouldn't say any substantive streets in terms of paving, but we have been able to fix a lot of those back-end streets. In terms of the hardcore material. We had to look at this street behind Biltmore. I can't get the name right now, but that's a street that was funded by the IDB that continued to haunt this council. That each time you put material on this street, it sinks. We have spent over 600,000 to date, just
on one street.
On one street, and each time you put the hardcore material, it sinks. It's a horrible project. It requires engineering expertise. We are working along with the Ministry of Infrastructure and Works to see how we can get the required engineering component in place to have a final solution for that street. We can't as a city continue to spend those amount of funds on just one street and seeing it go into the ground after a month or two.
Well, Mayor, you know, there's so much more that I want to discuss with you, but I want to close off with just talking a bit about the challenges you have been having internally with your councillors. It's been well publicized, and we know people really do feed into these types of conversations, but it is an important conversation in terms of looking at your leadership and ensuring that the work can get done at the council. Yeah,
well, it has been well publicized, particularly by one media house, of course. But the fact of the matter is that myself and my councillors, we all serve the people. It's a privilege to be able to serve our people. And as my 10 councillors, myself, there is, once you are able to serve your people, right, there's nothing anyone can do to you in terms of saying demotion. We all serve at the privilege of our residents. And as a family, we have to be able to nurture a type of trust, right? We have to be able to nurture what I would call trust and loyalty to your organization and to your residents. Because when the residents see you quarreling, it's not good. So we have to be able to get past that. In all families, you will have disagreements, right?
But you can't shy away from disagreements. Yeah, I think that the matter is if you're able to have a functioning work environment.
Yes, and that is occurring as we speak.
So the relationship is better now?
It's better, of course.
You communicate with them directly?
We have every day I meet with my well, let me tell you this. Let me get back to it. In terms of the day-to-day operation of the city, I channel all my through the city administrator. The city administrator is the chief accounting officer. The council and myself serve as a board, and so we meet monthly. But we are also able to have discussion. Whenever any of my councillors want to see me, they are able to go to City Hall, and we meet and we talk and we discuss. What I've found out in terms of councillors, and not only in Belize City, but across the entire country, as I serve as the president of the Mayors Association, and what we have found out is that many of our councillors some of them don't understand how the structure of the council work. You serve in the capacity of a board member. You bring policy to the caucus. You debate those policies. You vote on those policies. You have a track record of how you vote on certain motions, certain policies. But at the end of the day, you serve your residents in your different constituency. You are not a day-to-day person or any of the managers of the council has to be answerable to yourself. You are answerable to your caucus.
But I want you to come back to the question. You said that you funnel the information through the city administrator, but the most concerning allegation is that you've cut off communication from your councillors. Has that been?
No. That's an allegation, and that is.
Because disagreement aside, you got to work together.
You got disagreement, but I meet with my councillors whenever they want to meet with me. I am here, but the fact people will always spin, and you as a leader in your community has to be able to recognize that spin and be able to stay away from the spin doctors out there. There are many spin doctors, and they want to create mischief. My team, I am fully behind my team.
Okay. Were you aware of the trip that 3 of your councillors recently took abroad prior to the trip being taken?
Which one of the trip you speaking of?
The one where Councillor Goodin, Councillor Kenya, and I believe it's Councillor Novello recently.
Oh, I have no issue with our councillors traveling. They are free to travel. I believe those councillors made a statement, and they said that it was not funded by the council, and I can say it was not funded by the council. We have to get out of this thing of really microscoping every single move a councillor make, man. The media has to do a better job. I call on the media to stop. Let us stop the creating mischief. My council members.
The key thing is asking the question and getting a response. So, if there are moves being made because you have access to public money, we can always ask whether it was public money.
Yeah.
I think the response, and a timely one, is what makes the difference.
And I believe those councillors had indicated that it was not council funds. I can say it was not council funds. Those councillors went on their trip. They have the right to do that. I don't see anything wrong with it, right? Our council continue to have a good relationship, right? In terms of, we had caucus the other day. We plan on having another caucus later this month. So it's in that room that all the decision making is made. It's in that room that we debate. Sometimes the debate is hard, but when you leave that room, with all that happened in there, stay in there. It does not come out. That has been how I operate.
That's your expectation.
That's my expectation of my councillors, and I still believe that we have some young people on the team that are learning, and you have to give them their break, and all families have this. It will never end. Changing of portfolios has always occurred in council and in governments. It will not be the last time that I will change portfolios. It's just about performance, about getting the right end results, right? Performance.
Well, we want to thank you for coming in today. Clearly, there's so much more that we can discuss, but we're out of time at this point. Mayor, thank you so much.
Thank you again, Marlene. Thank you again, Mr. Lopez. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, and all the best. All right, so with that, we'll take a break, and we will return with our final segment.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
The ministry is collaborating with SpeedNet Communications to have a vaccination campaign for children ages 12 to 17 years. Children who get vaccinated will get a chance to win fabulous prizes, including backpacks with supplies, Nintendo Switch, tablets, book tuitions, and MiFi with 3 months data. Only children 12 to 17 years old can participate in this Smart and Ministry of Health and Wellness raffle. At vaccination sites, each vaccinated child, upon being vaccinated, will receive a ticket to place their name, age, date of birth, BHIS number, and contact information on, which will be filled out by a parent or legal guardian. The sooner a person vaccinates, the more chances he or she will have to win. Get vaccinated, please. Vaccination saves lives.
Girl Jill, now how you make it up this hill so fast with such ease?
Well, you see, Jack, I know if I get my tires for this nice ride. I got at the best tire center of Belize. Their tires have strong resistance and durability for any road or hill you go on. And not get fooled by cheap prices and inferior quality when our last. Tire Center of Belize have the top brands like Rydans, Landvigator, and Firemax. They have the best quality and prices in Belize. So check them out at Power Lane in Belmopan or La Loma Luz Boulevard in Santa Elena. You could even call them at 822-3005 or 824-3005 for more information.
Well, Jill, I have no plans to roll back down this hill again. I go in the Tire Center of Belize right now.
So remember, for great quality tires for a lot less, you must check out Tire Center of Belize today.
I chose Galen because of its strong reputation.
Great scholarships.
I came because I can take all my classes online.
It is what I need to take me where I want to go.
To learn more about our various programs, visit our website at www.galen.edu.bz or email us at admissions@galen.edu.bz.
And come soar with the Galen Eagles. If you're looking for low-cost television advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
name in voice and data, is also the country's leading provider of innovative services and solutions for small business and enterprise. At DigiBusiness, we offer solutions, tools, and applications to support your business needs. Reduce costs, improve efficiency, and excel in a changing world where no idea is too big and no task is too small. From technology advising to design implementation and management, our team of qualified solution sales and specialists can develop a reliable and robust infrastructure, allowing you to spend more time on what matters most, your business. Visit us online to explore how DigiBusiness innovative products and solutions can help your business reduce costs and improve efficiency.
Why should you wear your mask? To protect myself. My friends. My family and others. I wear my mask because I love my grandparents. With so many reasons to wear a mask, we continue to advise persons to wear a face mask properly, covering both nose and mouth. Together, we can keep Belize COVID-19 safe.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
All right, and welcome back in our final conversation for this morning. We have in studio with us Dr. Philip Castillo, who is a trustee on the board of the Public Sector Workers Trust, and we also have Mr. Edward Harris, who is operation manager also at the Public Sector Workers Trust. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
So let's start for those who may not know a bit of the background on the trust and what it is.
It goes back to the period between 1995 and 1997, when government could not pay increments for public officers. And what government did was that government gave the unions shares in BTL. The aim being that the proceeds from these shares, which are dividends, would be used to finance projects for the benefit of public officers.
If you wouldn't mind, what are some of the notable projects, investments that the trust has undertaken over the years?
Well, that's what we're here to discuss.
Good.
Because let's fast forward to 2014, when the trust was actually formed. The trust was formed around 2014 and activated. And we started to develop projects. But as shortly after we were formed, we were approached by claimants because the trust has beneficiaries. Now, some of these beneficiaries wanted money instead of projects. We had discussions with them, and those discussions were ultimately fruitless, and 1 year after they sued us. So the first lawsuit that the trust faced was in 2015, one year after it was formed. That lawsuit went around till about 2017, if I'm correct, Edward. And the judge at the time, he ordered basically that there be mediation. And mediation happened and was ultimately unsuccessful, and we were sued again. The judgment for the second lawsuit that came out late last year, and basically we see it as a complete victory for the trust. that we are given by the judge 12 months to do projects.
Yeah.
And our first project is a health project, and that's what we are here to discuss.
I'm so glad you set that background because it is a complicated and very long-standing matter. I guess the concern is that when these increments were frozen in the late 90s, those persons, those public servants by now are probably retired. Some have passed on. And the concern is what projects that can be implemented that will have an immediate impact on the beneficiaries.
Well, certainly the health project, meaning that when we did an analysis of our beneficiaries, so increments were frozen in 95, 97, in that era. Let's say on average, let's say you were 30 years old then. So if you were 30 years in 1995, you'll be how old? You'll be about 27 years older than 30 in 2022. So we know that most of our beneficiaries are in their 60s on average. In Belize, the life expectancy is 74. So if you're 60 and you in Belize, you expect to live until 74, I could tell you that you're facing a range of health challenges. And so our first project is in the area of health, that we know that our beneficiaries are older, and we know that our beneficiaries are facing a range of health challenges, and we're hoping that this project goes somewhere towards addressing those challenges.
How many of the beneficiaries are retired?
Have that number there?
On estimate.
We don't have that specific
I would think
number.
about half, possibly.
Yeah.
About half or more.
Possibly, possibly. Yeah.
Because that's also a key matter. 27, how do you, is there a measure in terms of what each beneficiary would be due due to the increment freeze? If I was closer to retirement age, I was earning more, my increment freeze perhaps cost me more than a junior officer who's coming up the ranks.
Well, the reason why we are not focusing on that is that the judgment specifically said, in fact, both judgments said, that the trust funds are not for individual distribution. So we have not gone the way of calculating how much each person would have gotten. Because it's specifically not for individual distribution. It's for collective projects.
Now, I know that you're very clearly saying that the judgment is out. But while the judgment is one thing, all the beneficiaries are watching thinking, why is this the case? So how do you come up with the project? And who agrees that the project is the best for the beneficiaries?
There were initial consultations. We did countrywide tours. We got feedback from beneficiaries in every single district town. In fact, we did Belize City twice. And that came up, basically. That people want, because health, focusing on health, of all your expenditures, health is the single most expenditure that is most unpredictable. In your own life, you have you pay utilities, you pay food and those kind of things. But focus on health. Health is by far your most unpredictable expenditure. Ideally, you want to have insurance. In fact, to give the claimants credit, I think that was one project they suggested. Insurance. The challenge we faced was that insurance companies were unwilling to insure a large amount of fairly older people. So next we're focusing on health then. What is your state of health? And if you know your state of health, listen, it's an advantage to know where you are with your state of health and what possibly can be done.
All right, so let's talk about the rollout of the health project. That's the first step?
That is the first step.
Getting your health assessment.
Well, you could see, we call it a 5-step process. So the first step is that we've published the list of beneficiaries on our website. Government is the settlor. In terms of a trust, the settlor is the owner of a trust. So government gave us a list. The government has itself indicated that the list is incomplete. But then we have a list and we're
The list is incomplete.
Government said that yes. But we have a list and we are starting with that list, and there's a procedure to add yourself to the list if you feel like you're a beneficiary but you're not on the list. So the first step then is that you visit our website to see if your name is on the list. Now,
And if your name is not on the list?
I will explain what happens then.
Okay.
But having ascertained that your name is on the list, you phone, step 2 is that you phone the offices of the trust to set up an appointment to go to the trust. Step 3 is that when you're at the trust, we give you a form. Now with this form, you visit the medical provider of your choice. We're focusing initially on 2 medical providers, the Belize Healthcare Partners. We have a signed contract with them. And the Belize Medical Associates, we expect to finalize a contract with them this week. Now, these are among the 2 best medical providers in this country.
Okay.
You go to these providers, and there's a range of tests that you take. Possibly Edward could explain those tests.
Yeah.
And then step 4 after that is that there's a medical consultation, meaning that when you take certain tests, these machines spit out results. You as a lay person may not understand these results. You need to consult with a medical provider to explain these results. So then, at the end of that process, given the range of tests that you will undertake and the consultation, you, the beneficiary, you should leave that medical facility, or you should leave that consultation with a very good idea of the state of your health.
And that's the project?
That is the project.
So you're paying for an annual checkup?
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from the beneficiaries, when you consulted, they said that this was something they couldn't afford or didn't have access to before?
Well, we know that most beneficiaries focused on health.
Okay.
In fact, what we're focusing on is possibly secondary treatments, basically.
But you want the first data to know?
Yeah. But if you focus on curative health, like tertiary health care, it's extremely expensive. Meaning that if a test is done on you, and it's found that you have whatever you have, the treatment is extremely expensive. So we are not there yet. We just want to focus on their state of health, what they have.
So what are the tests that you can take?
The test is a series of laboratory testing which includes blood spuring and urine, such as triglycerides, cholesterol, BUN, which is blood urea nitrogen, pap smear for females, prostate-specific antigen for males, about 9 or 10 of those different tests, as well as a physical breast examination you have for females for cancer screening as well. And then you have physical measurements such as BMI, heart rate, blood pressure, and those sort of things.
What is the trust worth at this point?
The total value of the trust is over $9 million, but we have $8 million in cash, and the remainder is in actual shares.
And the members, list of beneficiaries, what's the amount?
It's around 10,000, we think.
Okay. How do you ensure the sustainability of the trust as you continue to invest in project that requires these types of expenses?
Well, it's a very good question, because if you have $8 million in a bag or in a barrel, and all you're doing is taking out from that barrel, it will eventually finish. So then a challenge facing the trust is that as we spend money, we have to find ways of generating more money to put back in the barrel. The challenge you're facing in Belize is that there are extremely limited investment options. We are here to answer your questions, but if you could ask you a question, if you have $8 million, how could you not spend it but invest it? What are your options?
Well, that's why you are the mutually agreed trustee to be able to consult and to explore options. But I want to come back to it though. As we noted, because this is 27 years later, there are some beneficiaries who perhaps are no longer alive. Will their survivors be able to benefit from the trust because they have also contributed towards the trust?
That's a very good question, and initial discussions have begun in that regard. We want to give a lump sum. We are not certain of the quantity yet, of the quantum, but yes, that's what we're thinking. from the date of the judgment.
Do you know how many persons have passed?
No, we have no idea at this point.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Now, the checkup is kind of the first phase, as you outlined. It's looking at your blood profile, your cancer screenings, seeing your overall health status. But it ends there. So if I get a cancer diagnosis, it's not that you will continue to pay for my care.
But two reasons why we can't. Resource constraints and equity. Let's focus on resource constraints first. We acknowledge that our beneficiaries are an older age cohort.
Yes.
And I said earlier that health is one of your most unpredictable expenditure. If, for example, it's found that you have cancer, really, the treatment for cancer can be extremely expensive, and then cancer could be a lifetime ailment.
Yeah.
So the trust does not have $8 million, cannot finance tertiary care for 10,000 persons. It just can't. So those are resource constraints. And then the next issue is equity. If you focus on tertiary care, we are starting in Belize City, but we have beneficiaries countrywide from Punta Gorda, Danguiga, Corozal. So if we spend all the money in Belize City, what about the person in PG? That's certainly not equitable.
That was going to be my next question. How does someone from PG who's a beneficiary then access a checkup in Belize City? That's an additional cost associated with travel.
Yeah, but we are starting in Belize City. And then we expect, we anticipate a phased rollout to the other districts.
Okay.
Now you mentioned PG, and we are fully aware what we want to do at the end of the day. We want that every single beneficiary who accesses the trust get the same level of health care.
Yeah.
Now that's a challenge because the facilities in Punta Gorda may be different from the facilities in Belize City. So obviously what we'll have to do, the options facing us, is to discuss with these medical providers anyway how they can reach PG. That's one option. The next option is to find out how possibly persons from PG could come to Belize City.
Yeah.
So we are still at that, but then we are focused on Belize City and see how it goes in Belize City before we, Belize District, sorry, before we expand.
Is there a time frame that you're hoping that people will go out and do their health test?
Yeah, starting today.
Starting today, yeah.
Yes, well, because we are launching now.
You get the form, you fill it out, and then I go back to you, or I go directly to the
No, you
hospital?
go directly to the facility. And the reason why the form is important is that it provides a paper trail. The trust is audited. The trust has always been audited, and we publish our audits. If there's a clear paper trail, obviously the auditor can follow the paper trail and see where the money is spent.
How much do you expect to spend on this one project, this first project?
Well, if we anticipate around 10,000 beneficiaries, more or less, and we're spending $200 per beneficiary, you're looking at $2 million. But there are other costs.
And that's if everybody gets a health
Yes,
test.
if everybody, yes.
Because there may be persons that are already in need of tertiary care that has already done certain tests and certain checkups and don't necessarily need this this type of test, which goes back perhaps to the question of whether a survey was conducted to really see how much of your beneficiaries need this type of service.
Again, it's a valid question. But again, one of the things we did to raise money, Marlene, you raised that earlier, is that we had a variable loan scheme whereby we loaned money at 5% interest. Now focus on that. Our beneficiaries included pensioners. And we know that some pensioners in this country, their pensions were about $300-400 a month. With that level of pension, no bank is going to lend you money. No credit union is going to lend you money. They borrowed money from the trust and paid back. Well, the first judgment, this loan scheme, there's an injunction against the loan scheme, and that injunction remains. So obviously we have to find ways of lifting that injunction so that we have the wherewithal to lend to these persons at extremely low rates.
So what is the next phase of this plan? You roll out today the health project, which means any person who is a beneficiary of the Public Sector Workers Trust, who is listed as a beneficiary or can prove they're a beneficiary,
That is correct.
they can go get a form from your office and go for a full checkup to understand the health status.
That is correct.
That's phase 1, right?
Yeah.
What's the plan after that?
Well, we are starting in the Belize district.
Okay.
Obviously, phase 2 would be to expand to the other district towns.
Mhm.
So that is the health project. So we want to see how that goes. Now, the other project we have in the pipeline focuses on sustainable livelihoods.
Yeah.
Again, our beneficiaries are an older cohort. We want to partner with the Ministry of Agriculture, that if we could provide you with implements and utensils and whatever you need to grow food at home, because you don't need a backyard to grow food at home. You need a tire and those kind of things. And so that provides, it adds basically, it could reduce your food bill. It provides a healthier way of living because you're working, you're walking, you're growing what you plant.
Well, I mean, that depends on health status too, because
Yeah.
if you're arthritic and have to kneel down or dig, that's kind of hard.
Well, true enough. But then, so that we anticipate that that's our second project.
Okay.
Now, the judgment recognized that there is absolutely no project that can equally benefit all beneficiaries. But then we are open to suggestions from beneficiaries on what project they would want, collectively, basically.
What's the age range? Do you have data on that?
Well, the average age is around 60, but we know that the youngest beneficiary would be in their late 50s, and then the oldest would be 90s, thereabouts.
What does that say for the future? Final question. Say for the future of the trust over the next decade or two.
Well, by law, the trust is expected to last, I think, 50 years. Yeah, 50 years. But because some beneficiaries are in their 50s, well, it goes on to about 50 years from now.
Yeah. All right. So where do people get more information if they want to access the health project?
You can get information from our office. Our office is located at number 5620 Main Avenue, corner when Lizaraga and Main Avenue.
Okay.
Also, we have a Facebook page, which is Public Sector Workers Trust. They can also message our WhatsApp at 673-7798 or call our phone numbers at 223-7799 or 223-2877. And we'll be able to answer any questions they may have.
All right.
Well, with that, gentlemen, we want to thank you for both your time, being with us on the show this morning to discuss this very important topic. With that, we'll take our final break, and when we come up, we will wrap up this Monday morning show for you.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her co-workers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link. She taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made. Then taps the split the bill button where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the requests and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
We have been a partner with Smart for over 10 plus years. We have a full Smart plan we use as our major driver for our business. We have a service that rolls over in that if you call one and it is busy, it rolls over to the next line. So once you call us, you can get us at any time. Before we got this Smart service, we were paying upwards of nearly $2,000 in phone bills. Since we've had our Smart service, we pay an average of about $600. So we've had tremendous saving, more than 50%. For the businesses, if you want to save money, switch to Smart because it is far more cost effective and the service is excellent.
Smart continues to be innovative in bringing new technology and meaningful savings during these challenging times to businesses across Belize. Sign up for our VoIP technology or broadband packages and save more.
We're back.
Yeah, well, that does it for our show. I want to thank, first of all, Mayor Bernard. It's been a while since we've had him on the show, and so definitely a fruitful discussion there with a lot of different topics in that conversation. A lot happening in the city. I think what we're seeing is re-emergence of activities after that kill, that slowness due to COVID-19, and so we're starting to see things pick up back in the city, and a lot of ideas thrown out by the mayor as to how they plan to recover financially.
Absolutely. And we want to say thank you to the Public Sector Workers Trust for coming in and telling us about the launch of their health project. If you are one of the beneficiaries of this trust, it was established based on workers in the public service who were working between 1995 and 1997. You are eligible to get a health screening at 2 private hospitals here in Belize City. You can go to their website and Facebook page and get the information and see how you can access the service. But that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com.
Or you can find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, or on Instagram at OYE Belize.
And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
And start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.